Hey everybody, welcome to Yummy Piano, a place for you to season your life with musical flavor. If this is your first time checking out this channel, then I welcome you. I'm planning to go a little bit in depth on certain praise songs and what I would play in these praise songs. I would say the level for these tutorials is intermediate. So the song that I'm going to be showing you how to play today is called Still by Hillsong. This is one of my favorite praise songs. It's almost in that range of a hymn, but not exactly a hymn. This is not a tutorial on how to play exactly as the original sounds. This is more of how I would play it and an explanation of why I play certain things. I'm going to play through the song on how I would play it, and then I'm going to get into real nitty-gritty details about what I play and the how and the why and different tangents and different places you could use them and where I got stuff from and how you could figure out stuff like this on your own too. With that being said, this is going to be a longer video, so feel free to skip around to different sections. More background information on the setup that I'm currently using. I have two cameras. One right here is a GoPro. Up there is my mirrorless camera. Let's get into it. So in this first section, I'm going to just run through what I would play. So that's what I would play, likely. Regardless of whether I'm playing with a praise team or by myself, I probably would play very similarly to that. Of course, every time you play, it's not always exactly the same, but that's more or less typically how it usually goes. So let's break it down. We'll start with the intro. This is the intro that the original song uses. So let's break down what's happening here. We have the same notes being repeated in the right hand. This pattern being used in the left hand. This song is in the key of C, and we have the repeating notes, which are the 1, 3, and the 4 in the key of C. Typically, there are certain notes that could be used in different keys as long as there is some common notes here. In the key of C, the chords that we're using here are F, A minor, C, and G. And the notes that are repeating in the right hand are the 1, 3, and 4. So in the key of F, this works because these two notes are directly in the key of F, and then the E adds a 7 sound. So you have a F major 7, and then you have the A minor. That one is a little more interesting, but it still works. Let's see, A minor 7. I guess we don't use it in every single one, but here you have the... In general, like if we wanted to, it could work. So this is an idea of using repeating patterns in the right hand as long as they don't clash with any notes. In the left hand, let's break down what's going on. You have this pattern here, which I like to use a lot. So essentially what you're doing is you're playing tenths, but then you're throwing in the ninth right before you get to the 10th. If you listen to a lot of praise songs, you'll notice that a lot of praise songs use tenths, and this song is no exception. One difference being they do roll the chord and they throw in the ninth as well. If you listen to a song like Captain, tenth here, another tenth here. There's a lot of other examples you probably could come up with, but that's just one quick example. Cornerstone too. Like here's a 10th. It's kind of a 10th. It's an inverted C chord, but... And then here, like a lot of praise songs use 10th. This pattern here is a little different though, because it uses it's kind of funny because it reminds me of, there's a K-pop song cover that I did a long time ago, probably like 12 years ago now, or maybe a little bit longer ago, that I used this pattern. This song uses it in just stopping right there, but if you wanted to go use it a little more, you could do... That's a possible pattern that you could use. From this, the first few measures, you have a little tool that you could use. Just really nice chords. And then here you have a little 9 here. And then the second time you play it, I like to change it up a little bit just to make things a little interesting. Something like that. What I'm doing here is, instead of playing 8th notes, I'm moving on to 16th notes. And here, I don't think I played that exactly in the intro, but that's what I like to play. The idea here is you stick with the same thing in the right hand. So instead of doing 8th notes, I actually do an 8th note on the first one, and then I go into 16th notes. A little tongue twister there. So to break this down, what I'm doing here, this is a little thing I like to use. I don't exactly remember where I got it from. I think it was something like that. Oh, man. A lot of these ideas just come from places that you don't always realize. That's something that you could use in improv. It kind of fits into jazz as well, maybe like slightly different chords. It's just like a modified grace note. So instead of just doing this, I think having another note at the top just adds a little flavor to it. So instead of just doing like, instead of just that, And then for other songs, not this one, I like to use that pattern and kind of jump all over the place. You could do this too. It's just the same thing, but then you just come back down. And then I like to throw in octave lower basses whenever possible without being overly aggressive. Just a little one note down there where you don't really hear it too loud, but it's there. And not using it all the time. Yeah, that's basically what I'm doing in this section. And this part, it's essentially, let's see what the chord thing here says. This is a G suspended that is resolving at the same time. Going up, you have the suspended 4 resolving to the regular G. I like to use this quite a lot. I don't always like to necessarily hold it out just the chord. So this is a subtle way that you could use the suspended chord and resolve it more in a subtle way. Just with one last note. Like, so. Like when I do runs too. You could keep it suspended all the way through, or if I'm going to resolve it, I'll usually do it on maybe one. Unless it's a longer suspension to resolved chord, then maybe a little bit different. Okay, so that's what I would do for the intro. Moving on to the verse 1. I like to keep it simple with the chords. And I like to just hold them out for the first verse. For a lot of songs, I like to just hold out the chords for the first verse and then get a little more movement in subsequent verses. Just a normal C chord, 10th. And I like to leave out the third in the left hand. If possible, I like to, if I expand it, I'll probably play this, or maybe like this. But as a rule of thumb, I almost never include the third in the left hand. If the third is going to be in there, it's always on the top. Because the 10th, this is a 10th, and this is theoretically a 10th, even though you're playing just octaves. Sounds a lot better than this. The third interval, when it's played at lower registers, in my opinion, it sounds too cluttered, and it doesn't have the nice ring to it as this does, compared to this. But sometimes, if you're doing a inverted C chord, then of course having it down here is nice. But then I wouldn't include the G. It's like whatever is on the bottom, I try to keep at least a fifth interval away from it, especially if I'm playing at lower places. If I'm doing more like a rootless chord, then that's different, and it's usually a little higher up too. So this, instead of a regular A minor, and I'm playing it in the same format as here, just a little bit farther down, leaving out the third here. Instead of a regular A minor with a 10th, I usually go for the A minor 7, for the minor 7. This, in the key of C, this is the 6th chord, so I like to play the minor 7 in those situations. Actually, in most minor chords, I like to play the 7. Even in a lot of major chords. For major chords, instead of the 7, I like to play the 9. So if I were to change it, but this is the first verse, so I'll probably just play it simply like this. If I were to add another note, instead of playing the 7, I would probably play the 9. Like that. It has it set as a 2, which, it is a 2, but more technically, it's a 9 because I'm not playing it down here. Here, and in this chord here, the normal way that this song is written, you have C, you have G/B, and then A minor. I like to spice it up a little bit. Throw in the A in there, which makes it a 2 or also a 9 chord. Like this. Here's an example of another 9 chord. And it's inverted, of course. It's actually, that chord progression is part of the original song. Here, sometimes, depending on the arrangement, I think this chord is almost, usually, this is the correct chord from what I believe, but you could also, instead of playing the A minor, you could consider replacing it with this chord, which is the F major 2. Just by changing one note, you go from a A minor 7 to a F major 9 with inverted. I probably would not use that at the very beginning, but that's one possibility. I mean, it's nice because you have a G/B and then go right down to F/A, so you're just lot of the piano part in a way overlaps with the melody. Here you have, so even with 2 out of these 3 top notes are part of the melody. And then I like to play this, so you're also doubling up on the melody again. So here what I'm playing is an octave F, and then 2 tenths, 10th and 10th, with the C's in the middle. And then gotta have this chord in here, which is part of the original too. So here what I'm playing is F major, D/F sharp, but I like to throw in the 7, and here it's just written as a 7 because it's a dominant 7. So just a clarification, if it says just the 7, it's a dominant 7. So if you have a 7 and it's a major 7, it'll say major 7. But if you just play a dominant 7, it'll just be notated as 7, just as a clarification. The difference between those being, you have your major chord, and if you put on another, if you go an interval of a major third up, it becomes a major third. If you go up a minor third, that's what a dominant 7 is. So here, sometimes I play this too, but you don't have to. If you want to go for more simple, you just let it hold out and then go to this chord and the dominant 7. And then here I like to play the suspended and then resolve it. So very simple progression. And then here, instead of just going, you could just go back if you want, but I like to throw this in here to kind of start to change things up a little bit and add a little bit of variety. So here, if you can reach a 10th in the left hand, that's nice. You can play this without reaching the 10th as well, but I can barely reach, and I have to, put my thumb in a semi-locked, uncomfortable position, but that's how I usually play my 10ths. So here you go from the C to the C/E. Here I like to play a 9 or a 2 again. You could do this. I think I just usually just go here to a regular chord. I think I usually play the melody in this part. You don't have to, but I like to. For a tip on when to play the melody and when not to, I would say if you are going to double up on the melody, on the keys, depending on the song, because this song uses a lot of tenths and the melody itself follows the tenths. In those situations, I think it's fine, even for Captain 2. When the top note of the chord is in alignment with the melody, I think it's fine to play the melody. But when the melody is pretty different, or it's not necessarily following a 10th pattern, I think in those situations, sparingly and in certain parts is okay. But if you are playing the melody throughout the whole song, for some reason it doesn't really sound too good because it becomes redundant. You're playing what the voices are already singing. Another song that I thought of that uses tenths a lot is Bless the Lord, 10,000 Reasons. So in this song, I think it's totally fine to play the melody because the chords itself are using tenths, where the top note of this 10th is actually the melody. So in songs like this, totally fine to double up on the melody, but you don't have to play the melody here. You could just do this. So here what I do is, here I'm also playing the 10th again in the left hand, but you could play this chord without reaching that too. And then here I'm doing a C/E, but with the 9 in there, and then suspended. But instead of just resolving, I like to just go to just leave it suspended, and then just go to the next chords. I think it's fine to play the melody here too, but you don't have to. And then here, I am playing a 10th in the left hand for a C/E chord. This one's not really playable, I think, if you use two hands, but you could always do this. I think most people are either somewhere around between an octave to a 10th range. Some people can reach farther than that, but usually don't need to reach farther than a 10th. Okay, this is a chord. So I'm just holding the A from the previous chord, but I'm playing a G major chord with the 10th on top. But there's certain situations where you could play the 3 and 4 together at the same time, and it sounds really nice. Using it all the time wouldn't be good, but once in a while, example of using that. I guess even the intro here is technically using these two notes side by side, but usually don't play them together. But here, just sounds really nice. It's like, how I describe it is, it's probably like combining a suspended chord with the normal chord. Here's a pattern that I like to use a lot. What this is essentially is you're playing sixths, using your left and right hands to coordinate them together. Here you have a sixth interval. Right, that's basically what it is. Here's another suggestion. So if you're ever needing to go from a suspended chord to an unsuspended chord, instead of just playing this, you could play it as actually a different chord. So how is that possible? Because here you're playing these notes, right? A C suspended 4, and it has a lot of similarities to another chord, which is the key of F, or the F chord. Here, you could think of it as a F2 chord, or a 9 chord. So here, you don't even have to take out anything. If you just rearrange it, it's actually a F major chord suspended 2. If you just put a F on the bottom, it'll reclassify. So between a C suspended 4 and an F suspended 2, it's essentially the same notes, it's just what's on the bottom. Actually, not exactly, but that is one way to see it. Instead of just playing, you could do, like, that's the pattern that I was using, but throwing in the sixths there, just honing into the concept of the suspended, but actually just using the key of F entirely. So here it's kind of like, this would be suspending, unsuspending, but instead of that, I just go completely from the key of F to the key of C. And then these are just passing notes, I would say. It's like kind of flowy. You could use the sixth concept in multiple octaves too. if I'm gonna do something like that, I'll just most likely just use the right hand only. But you could. Sounds really nice. Might have to use that sometime. Or you could just do. And then here's another similar concept. Like from earlier when I was using these notes together too. I guess, okay. This is the key of C. I think the two chords that sound nice using these together are the 4, which this is the 4, and then this is a 5. The 5 also sounds nice because you're suspending and unsuspending. This one sounds nice, I think. I don't know why. Maybe because it's a 11 chord? I don't know. But it does sound nice. So the second time, instead of just playing the same thing, like I like to do just something a little more majestic. And also, the song does go, when the oceans rise and thunders roar. So it kind of simulates rising, like going up the keyboard. The oceans rise. I guess this could kind of be seen as like a little roar, a mini tumultuous episode. Not maybe a little bit more, but I don't think it really fits. When I first started playing this song and thinking more about the lyrics, I was actually trying to simulate some of what the lyrics are saying, and sometimes I do that by actually playing in higher parts or lower parts. I do find myself thinking about this concept of trying to fit my playing with the lyrics. I will soar with you. This sounds like very majestic soaring. This chord is really nice. Just really nice. My goodness. Gotta try this out. Okay. And then here, this is not really a suspended chord, so I wouldn't say it's being resolved per se, but it kind of is, because if you think about it, you're playing an F on the top, bottom, and then you're playing a G on the top, so you're going from the G to the F. So let's see. Let's try another situation where we could maybe use this. Kind of something like that, you know? I wouldn't do this every time, just sometime. You could do this F chord, but using the bass of the F kind of has a more of a complete feel, like things are wrapping up. These I would use more if you're going to repeat the chorus or the tag, repeat the tag at the end. Here's another thing where you could do a little tag at the end using the concept of sixths. It's very simple on the right hand. Using the 7 in the key of C, so you're going from, so you're essentially doing 1, 5, 4, 1, but here there's many ways you could there's a lot of little tags that you could do. That's something else that you could use as a tag if you're brainstorming possible tags. And then we'll get to the second verse. I like to spice things up a little bit more in the second verse. So here we have a G13, 7, 9, 11, 13. But then instead of playing it like concept is just using passing notes to go from chord to chord. Okay, let's just take it simple. Let's say we're going from a C to a G. You could do something like that. You could do that. I don't really like that one. You could do that. I don't really like that one. You could do that. The concept is to fill in the transition from one chord to the next, so that it's not just like that, you know? And instead of doing the same thing, that doesn't sound bad, but changing it up a little bit. So let's go back to this. So here, what I like to do a lot is I like to connect the two hands. So I like to have an idea start in one hand and be continued by the other hand. It's because with one hand, you could do that, but I like to try to cover as much space as I can because it makes the sound very full. Here, maybe I would use the F/A instead of the A minor 7. But if you're playing with people, you probably need to communicate that ahead of time. Here, this is another pattern that you could use. So earlier, I use this. And here you see it's kind of a 10th again. You could use it in a run. Or you could just use it sparingly. What I like about this is that you're playing these notes all before you get to the chord when you hit this note. So they're all creating a trail to the path. So here, you're doing a similar thing, but then instead of we've been going up the keys. Sometimes you gotta know when to come back down. I really like that. I don't know if I usually play that or not, but this is just what I'm coming up with right now. We have the 7 in the key of C being used quite a lot from what I see. That's just my... I feel like it fits with everything. What you'll notice is before every chord in the second verse, I'm playing 2, 3, 4, 5 notes. I think they're 16th notes. Someone correct me if my calculations are incorrect. I am playing notes to lead into each chord. So the concept is like this, you know? Before every chord. So that's something you could try practicing if you want to practice leading into chords, 2 notes right below, or you could 3 notes thing is, have all of those intervals ready to go, but then when you're actually playing, to switch it up quite a bit so that you're not using the exact same number of notes each time. So here I do 4, another 4, actually, well, I guess I did do that 4-note lead-in for many chords straight, but then you stop sometimes. Here's an idea where when you're going from the 5 back to the 1, you could step up or step down. But here, you could do. The idea is going from a G to an F to back to the G and then to the C. But the overarching idea is that the top notes are tenths, so it just flows really well together. If you're going down, you could do the same thing. So one thing I would recommend practicing if you're trying to work on something like this is to have the key of the song you're playing in, and then just practice going up and down in tenths intervals. Obviously, you're not just going to play, like, probably not like that, but in the key of C, play a C, D minor 7, E, C/E, F, G, A minor, and G/B. So the only chords that you're really changing are these, this, and this. So that's a little suggestion. And where was I? Keep forgetting where I was. I think. Okay, I forgot. I'm gonna start here, sorry. Okay. Here too, instead of just doing this, you throw in the E here. It sounds really nice. You could do this too, but I like to throw it in the left hand. Wait, that's not where I was. So I just want to add more information on this. So here, I'm going up, and I'm going up. It's a very fun thing. Here's another idea that you could use. If you're going from the 5 to the 4 in a key, here you play, it's kind of a suspended, and then you unsuspend it, and then you go down. So here we have the 7, 9, and 11. I would call this a 11 chord, but you could also see this as a F chord on top over a G. So here, going back to the concept, that's our goal. So I could just do this, obviously, but I throw this note in like to throw in a different chord, you should communicate that ahead of time. So here what I'm using is using the A dominant 7 chord in the /C sharp form. So let's go back to it. What do you normally play? You don't usually play a chord there in between. You just hold the A minor, but then instead of holding it, use the A major as a transition. If you use the slash chord, then you go from the C sharp to the D, and then here I like to walk up with the left hand. Back to the 13. Okay, here's an example of where I would play the 2 in the left hand, but it's far away enough that I think it sounds nice. Here's a F major 6. And then in this second chorus, I like to play the last line before going into the second chorus. Syncopated in a funny-ish way. Pedal and then let go. Things that I've played before, so I'm not really going to go too much into it. I just try to add a few more notes if possible. But then towards the end, when you are about to repeat the chorus, when you play the last chorus, I like to do it like this. I like to play large chords but to hold them out. Two lead-in notes again. And then here, instead of doing the regular G, I like to do an E/G sharp with the 2. Basically this chord with the G sharp on the bottom. And then here, a few jazzy chords. So what I'm doing here is why does this work? I think it works because the top note is still the same. So what you're doing is you're replacing. And it also works, besides the top note, it works here because you're going from this chord to this chord, which are very also close by. And not only that, because the 3 chord also does work in songs, just not used as commonly. But I think it does sound a lot better in this format because it leads in, and then you throw in a little 2-5-1 here. So for those who are not familiar with 2-5-1s, how to use them is, let's say you're going to, the goal is to get back to this F chord. What is the 2 of the F chord? And it's usually a minor 2, dominant 5, and then the 1. So if you're trying to get to the key of F, you have the G minor 7. I like to throw in the 9. Here you have C13. So yeah, that's a 2-5-1. I'm not going to get too into depth of how to play 2-5-1s, but if you have any questions, just leave a comment in the chat, and maybe I could go a little bit more into how to play 2-5-1s in another video in the future. And then you can do that. I'm playing in the upper registers, and here I'll use the 2 and also the slash chord instead of, because I'm getting ready to repeat. If you're going to repeat the whole course, you could, or you could just repeat. I think most people repeat the tag, the ending of this, multiple times anyway. I would say you could just play the 1 on the first time, because I think people are going to expect you to repeat. So when people are not exactly sure if you're going to repeat again or not, it really helps to play the minor 6, which is the A chord. So let's say, for example, so if you go here, it sounds like it could end, but if you play the minor 6, it sounds like it's going to take another loop. Here we're doing the similar concept again of the lead-in with the 3 chord to the 6 instead of just going from the G to the A minor. And then here we come to the ending. Because it's ending, I like to play with the root on the bottom. Here's a pattern that you could use. You could just do this, of course, using the concept of lead-in notes, but just using one note to do that instead of multiple. And then, so I will be still. So even here, you could just not do that, but that's totally fine too. But I think here as well, you could do that. But I always try to play multiple notes if I can in the place of one note, because it adds more dimensions to it. Throw in the 2 as well as throw in the 9 as well as the 10th in there. And then here you have the suspended G chord. So you see I'm playing the something like that. So similar to what I played before in different parts, but here the idea is similar, just using it multiple times. And I like to end this song on the 5 chord. Leaves it very serene ending instead of, you could always do that, but I think it sounds nicer to just end this one in the 5. That is a very in-depth tutorial on how I play still on the piano for praise and when I play by myself. I do realize that what I play when I just played at the beginning or when I played at the end might not be exactly the same as what I was explaining. And I think part of it is because some of these ideas started coming to me while I was playing, and sometimes it's hard to differentiate between exactly what you play when things are subject to change quite a bit. So I will play it one more time. I guess this will be kind of the close of this video, but I will play it one more time and see how similar actually it was to the first time I played this. And I think I'll try to use what I was explaining in this video, or else it's kind of, well, I guess, that's the part of praise. You kind of play different things each time, but I was under the assumption that I play the same thing every time. That's why I was kind of surprised when I found myself playing them differently than I thought I played. If this video is helpful, please leave a comment in the comment section below. Give a thumbs up, like this video, subscribe. If you have any other song requests, please leave them in the comment section below. Follow me on Instagram for daily updates on life. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you all in the next one. Stay yummy. 맛있게 있어라.